Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to you all to our debate on the ICT sector's carbon footprint challenge. Today's debate is hosted by the IF Steering Committee member Róża Thun, a member of the European Parliament with the Renew Europe group from Poland, who is a member of the Committee on the Internal Market and Consumer Protection. Thank you very much, Róża, for taking the lead on this topic at our forum. I will leave the floor in a moment, but before I do so, I would like to introduce our speakers of today. We'll be joined by Nikolaos Kontinakis, Policy Officer at the European Commission DG for Energy. Welcome to Maya Ormazabal, Director of Environment and Human Rights at Telefonica and Chair of the ETNO Green Deal Task Force. Welcome also to Patrick Ohlund, Director Energy Markets EMEA at Microsoft. And last but not least, let me welcome Karolina Koronen, Program Manager at the Environmental Coalition on Standards. Thank you all very much for joining us today. And now, with no further ado, I'll leave the floor to our hosting MEP, Róża Thun, for opening remarks.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and honor to host you all. And I believe, as usual, in an interesting, dynamic and fruitful discussion, as it is always with you. I'm happy that I can host it, and thank you, Maria Rosa, for organizing everything. Coming to our main issue, the footprint challenge in the ITC sector. Well, we know, especially in this, I hope, ending COVID time, what the immense role ICT played and plays nowadays in our society. It has probably never been as important and as much under the spotlight as now, as today. And when we look at it, on one hand, it became a key player and a supporter of green and digital transformation. And this in many sectors like energy, transport, like agriculture, construction, and many others. During the COVID, we all survived thanks to the benefits we have from the ICTs. And not only the families could communicate, those who couldn't meet, we could work, I could even vote in the European Parliament. Meetings were held online. I don't want to mention many others, like entertainment, which we badly needed in our lockdown, but culture even, culture functioned and developed in very particular ways sometimes, original and innovative, thanks to ICT. That's on one hand, but on the other hand, there was an increasing awareness of the environmental impact of ICTs, since the world is becoming more and more dependent on technology, and the amount of energy and water that is consumed, as well as greenhouse gases emitted by the ICT sector, we are afraid that they will grow at a time when our world must become more sustainable. Those are growing, and they will grow. To give you a few concrete examples, I noted the artificial cooling of data center normally consumes around 18 million liters of water per month. And the rise of ICT carbon footprint is expected to be by 2030 higher than the aeroplane industry. So there is a challenge in front of us. There are huge opportunities, but also threats that emerges from the ITC sector. So I'm very interested, very forward-looking to what you propose, to what are your observations, what are your remarks to it. And I hope that we will have now a very honest open and fruitful discussion, because this is also immensely important to my further work, since I am as well is ND committee as in Internal Market Committee, which deals also with a lot with the ITC sector. I'm sorry I will have to leave before 5 o'clock, but I deal also with this famous common charger, and we will have a discussion on it, so I will have to leave you. Thank you very much. But Maria Rosa will conduct the discussion, so you will do it perfectly well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruja, for kicking off today's debate and introducing the topic of discussion. Indeed, we do have a great set of panelists today with us, representing different stakeholders. So we're eager to listen to them. And I'll invite the first speaker, Nikolaos Kontinakis, to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Maria Rosa. Thank you very much for the invitation, and as well, let me be tuned for hosting such an event. Thank you very much. And my name is Nikolaos Kontinakis, and I work for the Energy Efficiency Unit of DG Ener. And of course, ICT sector is one of the sectors that right now there's a lot of discussion about, as was already mentioned. And I think we all look very carefully as the total energy consumption of ICT is, of course, going up. Of course, I think we shouldn't also forget that the benefits that come with this increase are also enormous, and but still, I think we all try here to, and I don't know if I will say it correctly in English, to put the horse in front of the carriage, right? So that we have an industrial sector that develops not like it happened, I don't know, 100 years ago with other industrial sectors, but this time we do it right. So we try to get the most of benefits, but by minimizing whatever are the more negative, let's say, impact on the environment, on water, energy, etc., etc. Well, I suppose I'm here as part of the panel, of course, because in the DG Ener, in the frame of the Green Deal, as you know, the Fit for 55 package, we have proposed a recast for the Energy Efficiency Directive, and in there in this proposal we have included some provisions for data centers specifically. I mean, part of the ICT sector, and more specifically, what we see as a first step in order to monitor, understand what happens in the sector, and then establish, of course, more mechanisms or ways, right, to push for the sustainability of data centers. That means, of course, not only energy use per se, but also how it mostly means how efficient this energy use is. It means that whatever comes of that, I mean, in terms of waste heat, is as much as possible reused. We're talking about using renewable electricity instead of maybe electricity coming from fossil fuels. We're talking about the use of water. So there are a lot of things that, of course, we try to see, and we will try, and I think we will try in the next year also to see how to formulate more detailed or suitable policies. Just a last point from my side, of course, that that is something new. I mean, what we have included in the Energy Efficiency Directive, but of course the Commission has long been involved in policies and measure of trying to make ICT more sustainable. Of course, in terms of schemes, there is already the code of conduct from JRC, but even more practical, you know that the green procurement criteria relevant to data centers and cloud computing. There is a section in the eco label and the eco design regulation about servers and equipment. And of course, there are numerous activities, studies going on, trying exactly to see how to better deal with this problem without at the same time, of course, and that's important, trying not to break the dynamism, right, and the necessity to have these digital solutions, because we know that they deliver, they have a lot of multiplying effects for the rest of the economy. That's from my side as an initial position, and then I think we will have an interesting discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nikolaos, for joining us and representing the European Commission, which is, of course, as you reminded us, making a lot of efforts in reducing the carbon footprint of the ICT sector. Now we'll hear from the industry point of view with Maya Ormazabal with Telefonica and Etno.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting us to share with you our views and how we are tackling with this great challenge that we all have. I hope you're seeing my screen now. Are you? Yes?
Yes, we do.
Great. Okay, great. So we want to share with you from both perspectives. So from Telefónica's perspective, but also from Etno, so the sector as a whole. This is Telefónica's strategy, but it's quite similar to the rest of the competitors. So Orange, those telecom, those network operators, those telecommunication operators operating in Europe. We are really trying to minimize the impact of our own operations at the same time that we are supporting our to decarbonize. So deploying products and services to help our clients. But we are pretty much aware of our own impact in the planet. So climate impact and also circularity, and it's part of our strategy already. So we are aware that telecom operators are really the backbones of major CO2 reductions coming from digitalization. We are really trying to help to this enabling perspective, and we know that that 15% or more is going to come from the digitalization of many sectors, energy sector itself, but also transport, cities, agriculture, or industry. We know that strong networks are going to be critical now to deploy this impact and to achieve the green targets that we have in Europe. And we know, or maybe all of the assistants to this roundtable, that the European Commission has created this European Green Digital Coalition that's going to help to measure this enabling perspective of the digital and the overall impact of the sector. So these two sides of the coin, how we are impacting ourselves and how, because we have to reduce this impact, and how we are going to benefit other sectors through digitalization. I'm going to show here the example of Telefónica's targets, but we have many of our colleagues in the industry with similar targets. No, so we know that we have to reduce our own impact, and therefore we have net zero commitments in our case until 2040 at the latest, included in value chain. But we have interim targets in 2025 related to our own emissions in our main markets. So that's Germany, Spain, and Brazil. And to achieve this, we have a specific renewable energy plans that was mentioned before. So it's critical to consume renewable electricity, but also to be efficient in the way that we consume. So really to consume less energy by petabyte, and we have already achieved part of these challenges. And with this will also help us to reduce our own emissions by 70% in 2025, and also to help reducing the emissions of our value chain and to neutralize the remaining emissions. But in the other side of the coin, the other pillar is to really help our consumers to reduce their own footprint, and we have committed ourselves to help them to avoid 12 million emissions yearly in 2025. But this is not only about the future, so how we perform each year, no? And we have targets in our remuneration, in variable remuneration. We have plans implemented since many years in Telefonica, but I really share with you that this is how we are operating in Europe from our sector, to really make our business more efficient and to help our clients to decarbonize their own emissions. And for sure, this is aligned with the 1.5-degree scenario and all the targets that we have within Europe. And to reducing our own impact, we are really investing heavily with innovation and with the more efficient networks, and we know that this is going to be critical. So we are moving towards renewables. So from Telefonica perspective, we are already consuming 100 renewable in Spain, in Brazil, in Germany, and within the whole sector, 75% of the electricity that the EDNO operators are consuming is already renewable. But we know that from the efficient perspective, we really need to deploy 5G and optical fiber networks, and to switch off legacy networks, which are not as efficient as the new networks. And so we really need to do this change as fast as possible. We are also increasing all the energy efficiency operations and the way we manage the networks, and we have code of conduct here that are helping us for sure. And we are fostering circularity, because materials are very critical for our sector. So it's not only energy, which it is indeed, but also materials. And we are going to see there an example of the materials with our clients, for instance, mobile devices, but also materials in our network. So equipment in the networks is critical here. And for sure, we as a sector are really pioneers in all the financial perspectives, so issuing green bonds and sustainable bonds from some years now. And how we are engaging our clients already, we are from B2B perspective, we are trying to move this digitalization of the whole industries very faster, and we know that this is going to be critical to really achieve the green targets that we have in Europe. We at Telefonica, we calculate this for many years, so we know that in 2021 we have avoided more than 8 million tons. We have calculated this based on methodology together with Carbon Trust, and we have deployed this label to help these digital and green transitions go together. So to help our clients to raise awareness to them that when they move towards to a more digital company, they are also helping their environmental targets. And we have this label that we have deployed together with INOR, this external verification company, and 52% of our portfolio in Spain has already this label that really shows if a specific product and service is helping to reduce energy consumption, water consumption, carbon emissions, or is promoting circular economy. And from the B2C perspective, we have launched this eco rating label. We do not have until now a standardized label to show the environmental impact of a mobile device, which is quite relevant, from a consumer perspective. And we have deployed together with 4 other telcos, so Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom, Telia, and Orange, this eco rating, and it's open. Other telcos are joining us, and we are working together with more than 16 vendors to really report to our clients what is the environmental impact of a mobile device, to help them to make decisions based on environmental criteria, and also fostering innovation with our suppliers. So I think there are many things to do in our sector to reduce the environmental impact, and also to help our clients reduce their carbon footprint. And well, very happy to be in the discussion here, and I'm pretty sure that we are going to see many things during the rest of the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maya, for representing the telecom industry at this debate, and for showcasing the efforts that you're making in this sense. We'll now listen to Patrick Holland with Microsoft.
So my name is Patrick Holland. I'm director on the energy and sustainability team at Microsoft Cloud, running our data centers across Europe and across the globe. So I'm focusing on the EMEA region in my daily work. So I will say a few words about how we at Microsoft are addressing our own carbon footprint challenge, and working on reducing our own footprint, but I will also say a few words about the data center efficiency, in particular when it comes to data center facility efficiency and what we are looking at next in terms of circularity and so on. So for Microsoft's part, as we have been focusing on sustainability before sustainability was cool. So 10 years ago, we introduced an internal carbon tax, and we also became carbon neutral. Of course, as energy is one of the main components running our data centers, we decided early on to move into running on 100% renewable energy, and we are on track to reach 100% by 2025. So, as you know, in procuring energy through corporate PPAs, we are helping driving a market for renewable energy. And I think this is relevant because we are now looking to do the same when it comes to carbon removal. So we have set a target to become carbon negative by 2030, which means that every year we will remove more carbon that we are emitting ourselves. Last year, as an example, we made the world's largest purchasing of carbon removal at 1.4 million metric tons, and we are looking to increase that. And our moonshot, as our American colleagues call it, by 2050, we will have removed all the historical carbon that we have ever emitted directly or through electrical consumption since Microsoft started back in 1975. We are also, when it comes to renewable energy, we are now looking at 100-100-0, as we call it, meaning that we want 100% of our energy consumptions globally to come from zero carbon sources 100% of the time. This means not just as annual averages, but matching every hour of the day, every day of the year. So our data centers are really key to reaching our sustainability goals. We're of course working with sustainability and carbon removal across other parts of our business as well. But for our data centers specifically, we have, or for the company as a whole, we have set the target to become, as I said, carbon negative by 2030, but also water positive by 2030, and by the same year also have zero waste in our data centers. So we are setting up our own internal circular centers, for instance, that we are using to reuse server components and other data center components. So speaking about cloud efficiency and data center efficiency, some of you might have seen this chart or similar chart before. So over the past 10 years, the workloads in our data centers globally have, not just Microsoft, this is from IEA, so it's globally all data centers. Workloads increased by a factor of 9 and internet traffic by a factor of 17. But still, data center energy use has remained almost constant at around 200 terawatt hours per year globally. So how is this possible then? One part of the explanation is that workloads have shifted from old, more inefficient data centers into newer, more modern and more purpose-built data centers. This includes both hyperscale facilities like the ones we are operating and our hyperscale peers, but also smaller to mid-sized data centers that are from the start built to be very energy efficient. So this transition and this shift of workload has helped keeping the energy use rather stable. So when you talk about efficiency of a data center facility, I'm sure some of you are familiar with the metric PUE. It was actually a colleague of mine at Microsoft, Christian Beladi. He introduced this metric over 15 years ago. And it has ever since, for the last 15 years, been a key metric for the data center industry. It's very basic. It compares the amount of the total energy used in the facility and compare that to the amount of energy that is actually used as useful work in the data in the IT servers. So in this example, 8 gigawatt hours is used for cooling and fans, and 10 gigawatt hours is going to the IT servers for useful work. This means that PUE is 18, the total, divided by 10, 1.8. And I think this is relevant to understand when we talk about data centers and facility efficiency, because it so happens that in this report from the JRC, this is a few years old, I think it's from 2017, the average PUE in Europe was estimated to be around 1.8, which is, I guess, in my and others' opinion, rather high. Since then, I think things have improved. I've seen some more recent reports that is stating the average at around 1.6, but it's somewhere around there, 1.6, 1.8 as an average. And the more purpose-built data centers like the ones we are building now, and also our industry peers, we have managed to get the benefit of scale, meaning that the PUE is as low as 1.1, 1.2 as an average. And the picture here is actually one of our newest data centers in Europe. It's in Sweden. So I will finish up with just saying a few words on what is coming next. Well, first of all, I should say, and I think Nikolaos is looking into this already, but the next thing, since the industry has done such a great job in pushing down this light green part, then I think that the next step for us as an industry to focus on is really the dark green part, meaning that we have to look further into how can we increase IT efficiency or efficiency of the IT equipment itself. So that's kind of the next step when it comes to efficiency. But I wanted to finish up with just saying a few words on the reuse of waste heat. I think Nikolaos mentioned this before. This is something that we are actively looking into at Microsoft. And the basic idea is, of course, that all the electricity that we put in our data centers is actually transformed into heat. Some of that heat is reused in the data centers to keep stable temperature in the data centers. But a lot of it can also be reused for the purpose of heating homes through a district heating system and so on. So this is something we're working on, and I hope to be able to share more information on specific projects rather soon, I think. I should also caution, there is a lot of talk about reuse of waste heat in Europe at the moment, and our experience tells us that there is no one size fits all. One of the key elements of doing waste heat is that there has to be somebody at the receiving end. There has to be a business partner ready to dance and to receive the heat. So that's also very important. So not always possible, but something that we definitely are looking into more and more. Okay, thank you. With that, I'll leave it back to you, Maria Rosa.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for bringing in the point of view of a major ICT company like Microsoft and sharing with us the state of play on energy consumption and all the initiatives that are ongoing. Now, we will listen to Carolina Koronen with the ECS.
Thank you, Maria Rosa. Yeah, first of all, I would also like to thank you very much for the invitation to participate today, and also thank you for the previous speakers' interesting presentations. For those of you who may not be familiar with ECOS yet, just thought I'd briefly introduce us. We are Environmental Coalition on Standards, and we are an international NGO with a network of members and experts advocating for environmentally friendly standards, policies, and laws. Our track record on ICT specifically is we have had a long involvement with eco-design and energy labeling regulations for ICT products, and we have had a key role in developing standards for repairability, reusability, energy efficiency testing. And one of our recent big items were also our big involvement in the Common Charger initiative. And there is definitely still a lot to do on this product level that we were previously involved with, but going forward and also closer to the theme of today is that the nature of the ICT requires another perspective with new system boundaries. The approaches that I want to put forward towards achieving a more sustainable ICT is to move from the product level to view the environmental impact of services We would also like to see that we consider sufficiency alongside efficiency when we talk about resources. And we would like to, as this panel is also more about, to assess the impact of the digital infrastructure. I would like to deep dive a little bit into data center energy efficiency indicator, which is something that ECOS has also looked a little bit more closely at recently. We have asked for a clearer action on delivering this goal of climate neutral, energy efficient and sustainable data centers by 2030. And we believe that the existing policy initiatives are unfortunately far from enough. And the first or one important part of delivering it is to have a common understanding of what an energy efficient data center is and how we measure it. And for this, we need an indicator. This is, as I said, absolutely necessary to at all assess the 2030 target. It is something that we need to set any kind of minimum energy performance requirements. And it will also be important in able to transparently and clearly communicate information about energy performance of data centers. Patrick here brought up the indicator that you usually see being communicated, the PUE. As you know, as was very clear, this only shows the facility efficiency, and we are calling for efforts to develop an indicator that captures a more complete picture of data center efficiency, including the IT equipment efficiency, and perhaps more importantly, also including software energy efficiency, which is something that is often forgotten when you talk about energy efficiency. So currently the assessment of data centers is sort of stuck at the doorstep of the ICT equipment, and it has to move beyond it. Building on this indicator, you can develop a definition of what constitutes a sustainable data centers, obviously completed by other sustainability criteria that we've also touched upon earlier today, like water use, for example. And then setting targets and legislative measures that can actually ensure compliance and deliverance of the targets. And specifically for us to call on is also already now, please issue a standardization request to have this indicator developed. This can come alongside policy efforts and speed up the process. And just the wider outlook as well. We would also like, as I mentioned briefly, to look at sufficiency of ICT. That means that when we talk about what resources we need, we don't just talk about what services we can, like how much service we can deliver with X amount of resource, but we also talk about how much service do we need to satisfy our needs. As an example could be, can we wait 2 seconds more before our YouTube video starts after we open the window, for example, because that is a way to perhaps cut the number of idling servers that you need to have in your data center. So I'd also like to throw that in there. And as we've also touched upon, this is a very quickly growing industry, which is why we would like to see action yesterday rather than late. Thank you very much.